Hello everyone, welcome all of you to StudyIQ and I am your host Praveen Mishra. So we bring on another fresh episode in our podcast and we have another special and unique guest with us. Bhuvan sir, I welcome you to this stage and first of all it's really an honor and privilege to share the mic with you.
Thank you, Praveen, for having me.
So one thing that we must display here that is badly needed, because when it comes to the subject of geography, this is a subject that troubles each and every single UPSC aspirant, each and every aspirant, whether coming from the technical background or not. But not anymore. If you are watching Bhuvan sir's classes, if you have enrolled in the Bhuvan sir's classes, so you know it very well that geography is now piece of cake, literally a piece of cake for all of us. And yes, Bhuvan sir, really thank you. You have made this subject a very simpler one, and all the technicalities, it's like just a blip, and I'm able to understand all the things in a very simpler manner. So it's like very fantastic, sir, and really thank you so much once again for this simplification of a huge technical subject.
Thank you, Praveen. The credit for that goes to the StudyIQ management and of course my students who pay full attention in the class. So I'm happy to give all of the credit to them.
Indeed, sir. So let's start our question answer round, sir. So it's to our viewers, it's about another interesting topic that we need to have the proper answer, is about the water treaties and the disputes basically. So interstate river water disputes. So sir, water disputes, okay, that's fine within the interstates. But first thing, that will be very unfair if we don't discuss this point. That is the Indus Water Treaty.
Sure.
So can you please throw some light over this IWT, that is Indus Water Treaty, and what are the protocols over it? And was it really needed for India for us to sign it?
Okay, so if you look at the definition of water sharing, it is to do with, say, the management of water resources, how you share the water resources in a fair and equitable manner. Now, the background of Indus Water Treaty starts in 1960, when the World Bank acts as a mediator between these two rival countries, India and Pakistan. And thereafter, we find that the three western rivers, which is the rivers of Chenab, Jhelum and Indus, they fall into the lap of Pakistan. They are given to Pakistan. India has the ownership of BSR, which is Bias, Satluj and Ravi. Now, at this point, I want to make it clear to my students that this term that Pakistan got the ownership of CJI, Chenab, Jhelum and Indus, this is not a complete ownership. India does have certain rights with regards to that river. We are allowed to use it for navigation, for fishing and for hydroelectric projects. Now the point of this was that once the partition happened and this Indus water river system, which is starting from China and then going through India into Pakistan, you needed a mechanism where you could share the waters between these two rivers, these two countries. And that was the entire motivation. Now, when you look at the current perspective, why India has put, say, the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance? Why has it withdrawn from it? Because as the Prime Minister rightly pointed out, that terror and water cannot flow together. Now, when you look at the Indus Water Treaty, it is essentially a water sharing mechanism, a source or it's a resource sharing mechanism. And obviously, Government of India is absolutely justified us being the upstream state. Now, what is the upstream state? You are located near the source of the river. So, we are the upstream state. Pakistan is the downstream state since they are located near the mouth of the river. So, obviously, we have control in the sense of controlling the flow of the river water that flows from India to Pakistan. And thus, when you look at the larger context, India is well justified in doing what it has done so far.
So, with regard to the ongoing controversy in India, not Pakistan.
Sure.
Some Indians specifically, they are of the opinion that India, cannot block the flow of the water towards Pakistan as per the provisions of the treaty, Indus Water Treaty.
Right.
How is this statement justified, sir? Is it really we have any such provisions in the IWT that we cannot stop the flow?
Okay, so those individuals who are saying that, well, India is wrong or India does not have the locus standi to stop the waters of the IWT or the Indus water system, I would suggest them that you go ahead and first take a look at the original text of the Indus Water Treaty.
Okay.
The first thing you look at it is the preamble of the Indus Water Treaty, where it is said that this treaty is being signed in good faith, in a spirit of goodwill and cooperation and peace.
Okay.
Now, these are conditions applied to the rest of the treaty. The rest of the treaty only applies when you have a condition of peace, goodwill, and good faith. Is that the case when we consider, say, incidents like Pahalgam, where Pakistan state-sponsored terrorism goes and attacks Indians? Is that an atmosphere of peace and goodwill? Of course not. So by default, because you have not agreed to the preamble of the Indus Water Treaty, therefore India is well within her rights to stop or say put in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty. Secondly, if you look at Article 12th, subsection 3rd of the Indus Water Treaty, it says that you can modify certain sections of the treaty and it has to be ratified and agreed to by both the governments. Now, at this moment of time, India has gone ahead and pulled out of it, citing Article 12, subsection 3. Pakistan is opposed to it. But again, I will go back to my original point that all of this applies only when the preamble of the IWT is held in good faith. Now, since Pakistan is not agreeing to the preamble, it being a rogue nation, India is well entitled to do what it has done so far.
So ultimately, as per the legal provisions, we have the authority.
Absolutely.
So this is the clear-cut answer by Bhuvan sir here, who has mentioned Article 12, subclause 3 of the Indus Water Treaty, which clearly mentions that if you are doing it, do it with the good faith, you do it with the goodwill, or else if there is no good faith, no goodwill as per the preamble as well, then there is no concept of the flow of the water.
And so Praveen, if I just add one more thing to this. So when you look at the Indus Water Treaty, it has a provision for a permanent Indus Commission, where you have representatives from both the sides. Now under the Indus Water Treaty, what kind of disputes can you have? There are 3 types of disputes that you can have: questions, differences, and disputes.
Okay.
To solve these 3 types of disputes, questions, differences, and disputes, there is a graded response mechanism. So for questions, those are handled by the permanent Indus Commission, the members of both the countries, they come and sort it out. Then you have the differences, for which you go to a certain tribunal, a particular, say, a permanent neutral body.
Okay.
You go and approach them. In case that neutral body, which we assume to be World Bank, if that also has failed to solve the problem, then you go to the dispute phase.
Okay.
And then you go to in front of a court of arbitration with 7-member judges, and then they give their particular verdict. Now, what has happened insofar that, like I mentioned, that India does have control over Chenab, Jhelum and Indus, we can create certain projects.
Okay.
Now, India has created, say, the Kishan Ganga project or the Ratley project. Now, these are run-of-the-river projects.
Okay.
Now, what does this mean? Let me simplify it for you. It means that basically you are using the kinetic energy of the flowing water without stopping the water. You are using the kinetic energy to move turbines and generate electricity. That is the run-of-the-river project. India is allowed construction of run-of-the-river projects.
As per the treaty.
Absolutely. We are not allowed gravity model of dams, where you store water and then you go and create electricity. That can't be allowed.
Okay.
Now, what Pakistan says is that, look, India has created these run-of-the-river projects, but they are not of the particular specification as mentioned in the Indus Water Treaty. And these fellows, they straight away went to the court of arbitration, forgetting the fact that there is a graded response mechanism. This is what happens when you are a bunch of uneducated fools. So then after that, India goes and says that, look, there is a graded response mechanism. Why don't you go step by step? Questions, differences, then dispute. Then the case is held ex parte. India is not a party to that case. And eventually World Bank says that, yes, India's stand is correct. India is fair in asking for graded response mechanism, and unless that condition is fulfilled, Pakistan does not have any locus standi. So you realize things are not very straight, black and white as people would like to assume. If you want to understand from the UPSC perspective, which I'm sure our audience does, you will have to understand these minor points also.
So basically, in the crisp, what we can say, as what the Prime Minister also stated, that the blood and the water cannot flow both together. So if you are doing it in goodwill, in good faith, so the treaty stands.
Of course.
But if there is any particular type of so-called badmashi or that terrorist activities, the coward terrorist activities, so it is not possible for you to have any kind of water as per the provisions of treaty, citing Article 12, subsection 3.
Yes.
Okay. So you have got the answers, guys, in case you were having this doubt that whether we can violate the provisions of the treaty. So first of all, there is no violation. It is a provision. In case it is needed, the water flow can be stopped. And sir, this brings us to another question as well from the same topic itself. That the people, they are of the opinion that India do not have the proper infrastructure as well to stop the water. Is that also correct, sir? How much valid this statement is as well?
See, infrastructure can be created. If we don't have it, we already are in the process of creating, say, the Kishan Ganga project, the Ratley project. On river Neelam, we have projects coming up. So it's not that projects are not getting created.
Okay.
But obviously, up until now, the focus of India was not to go into a, say, direct confrontation vis-a-vis Indus Water Treaty. In fact, I'm sure you know that Indus Water Treaty is was held as one of the shining benchmarks of global cooperation among two rival nations. Now that India has pulled out, she is well within her rights to create additional infrastructure without worrying about the, say, response that might come from the other side of the border. Unfortunately, Pakistan can't do much. Now, if you look at the geography of that nation, firstly, these fellows are responsible on our water that we are sending from Indus water system. Secondly, the southwest monsoon, once it crosses the equator after hitting the coast of Somalia, because of Coriolis force, it is getting deflected towards the right side and heading towards India, which means Pakistan does not receive a lot of rainfall from southwest monsoon also. For example, if you look at the southern parts of provinces, Sindh is largely desert. Balochistan, desert. Punjab, so-called food bowl of Pakistan, depends on Indus water treaty. So that food bowl will be a desert soon. So the way this is going, firstly, the problem is that when Pakistan was created, and I think it's a usual problem that you see, that it was all the founding fathers, so-called, were barristers. It was a common theme that time. All of them were lawyers. None of them were geography students. If they had studied a little bit of geography, if Muhammad Ali Jinnah had studied a little bit of geography, he would have found a better place to ask for, rather than that part which does not receive rainfall at all. So that is where the problem lies for them. It's going to be, right now it's a small problem, but soon it will magnify into a much larger problem, and this is where we are going to starve them of water economically. Their food security will be no problem, their poverty levels will be no problem, and they don't have it coming just yet.
Okay. So I guess, dear students and the viewers, we have the answer. Okay. And one thing where I got stuck with the statement that I'm still not able to overcome, that the so-called food bowl of Pakistan, that is the Punjab, Pakistan, is going to be desert soon.
Yeah, it's going to experience desertification for sure.
Okay, nice. So let's wait and watch. So, sir, thank you so much for this clarification, as it was badly needed. As you know, the people with the half-cooked knowledge and half-cooked information, they are, blabbering a lot that this is not possible, that is not possible. So I guess now every one of us, we have this absolute information. So all those people surrounding you, if they are, blabbering the same, okay, so please show them the video, show them Bhuvan sir's answer, and it's all done, right? So, sir, let's go on to the next question we have. Sir, first and foremost, how do I define this phrase, water dispute, water sharing dispute? As in, like, how can I justify the meaning of the dispute here, like water? Okay, I have got the land dispute. Okay, so this part of land belongs to me, that part of land belongs to you. Okay, I can have that. But how am I? Like, means I'm not from the geography background. So what I am having the understanding in my mind. So let's say I have a bucket filled with water. So there is a dispute between me and you. So you are saying, okay, I will take 8 mugs of this water from the bucket, and you will take 6 mugs of water from this bucket. So how is this dispute justified, and how is this example relevant as well, sir?
Praveen sir, when you say this bucket example, now you are assuming that the quantity of water in the bucket is fixed. Unfortunately, the river water is not fixed. The volume of water in the river fluctuates from season to season. Now, the problem with river water disputes starts during the dry season, which in geography we call as the lean season. Now, we know that India is a monsoon-dependent country. Not just in, say, the peninsular rivers, but also in the Himalayan rivers, we have a sizable amount of monsoonal rainfall that contributes to the river water volume. Now, let's understand through a simple example. For example, when you look at the Kaveri water dispute, now you have 4 stakeholders. You have Karnataka, you have Tamil Nadu, you have Kerala, and you have Puducherry. Now, by default, when the river is starting from, say, the Brahmagiri hills near Coorg, when Kaveri is starting from Karnataka, it will have less water. As it starts to go towards Tamil Nadu, it will receive many streams. For example, it receives Kabini river near Mysuru. So it will start to have more river water volume. So now the question that you are asking, how do we define it? Conventionally, it is defined as the sharing or the problems arising with the sharing of river water. In the lean season, the dry season. And thus you find that as a ground rule, we often say that the downstream state, which means the one that is located close to the mouth of the river, in the case of Kaveri water, it becomes Tamil Nadu or Puducherry, they will receive more water by default because they have access to more water as compared to the upstream state. Which is why, if you look at the Kaveri Water Tribunal, their allocation ratio that they have proposed, which has been endorsed by the Supreme Court, you find that Tamil Nadu received the highest amount of water, then Karnataka, then you have Kerala, then you have Puducherry. Now, why does Tamil Nadu receive more water? Because it is the downstream state. It anyways has access to more water. Now, it is incumbent upon the upstream state, Karnataka, to not go ahead and divert the river water for its own purposes beyond that ratio. That is where the interpretation is left for chance.
Okay.
How do we measure that ratio in the lean season? Because again, the lean season, the water cubic to cubic will vary. That is where the problem or the dispute arises.
So, means like, is it justified to have the downstream states with more water?
Yes.
It is totally justified.
Not in all cases. Now, if I draw another example, if you look at the Teesta water sharing agreement, which has still not been signed between New Delhi, Dhaka and Kolkata. There are the three stakeholders to this. Now, in the proposed Teesta water sharing agreement, we find that West Bengal, India, has access to around 42% of the river water. Bangladesh gets 37%. Now, this is contrary to what we just discussed, that Bangladesh is the downstream state, yet it is getting less water.
Okay.
Why so? Because when you consider the Teesta river, which starts from Sikkim Himalayas, crosses near Siliguri, Siliguri has two rivers side by side. One is Teesta river, one is the Mahananda river. Besides these two rivers, there are no other rivers in the area. And this area is highly fertile. It's a part of the Duar system, which we know in geography. It's a highly fertile area. The floodplains created. So if you divert river water from these areas, your agricultural productivity immediately drops. Now, when you go towards the Bangladesh side, they are not just dependent on Teesta. They have other rivers also in that area.
Okay.
So by that logic, we can say that, okay, India is well justified in saying that even though we are the upstream state, we require more water because of lack of alternatives.
Okay.
Let us not forget that the Siliguri area, the Siliguri corridor, it's a highly biodiverse rich area. You have areas like Jaldapada Wildlife Sanctuary and Buxa Tiger Reserve and Singalila National Sanctuary and Chapramari Forest. Highly biodiverse rich areas.
Okay.
If you divert the river water, of course the biodiversity will get negatively affected. Can India afford to do that? Of course not.
Okay.
Which is why we are still in that process of negotiations with Bangladesh regarding Teesta.
So, sir, anyways, does the population density or the agriculture of the area plays any role in the water sharing?
In terms of the water sharing formula, you are saying?
In terms of water
Of
sharing?
course, 100%. Okay. Just like I mentioned, that in the case of Siliguri corridor, it's a agriculturally rich area, and that will require water. It's a population density rich area. West Bengal and Bihar are among the most population density rich states in India. Obviously, it is incumbent, it is the responsibility of the government of India to look out for its own people first.
Okay.
Her interests first, before you look at the neighborhood first policy.
Okay, sir. So that will justify the question here. Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for this. And let's move to the next question, sir, what we have here. With regard to internal water disputes, like the rivers of India, like intra-states we talk about, or the interstates we talk about. So why is it happening that too many water disputes or the river water disputes is more in South India and less in North India? Means I'm not saying that is no dispute in North India, but why it is more prevalent in South as compared to North?
Praveen, that's a very intelligent question. I'll be not very surprised if I find this question in the mains questions one of these years.
Okay.
Now, if I answer from the geographical perspective, there are 2-3 main reasons. Number one, the Himalayan rivers get their water from both glacier as well as monsoon.
Okay.
Number two, the peninsular rivers get their majority of the rainfall from monsoons. Number one point. Number two, when you consider the groundwater levels, Indo-Gangetic plain has higher level of water. Groundwater is available up till near the surface. Now, if you have been to Kolkata, you will see that along the banks of the river Hooghly, there are certain faucets that the Kolkata Municipal Corporation has raised, which are leaking water continuously. Now, I was seeing this vlogger. He was from some foreign country, and he was remarking that, oh, look, Indians are wasting water. What he should have known is that this is being explicitly done so as to reduce the chances of flooding. Right. But when you compare peninsular India, you again have water levels that are not very high up. Thirdly, you will find that the origin of the river water disputes, when you look at, say, the peninsular India disputes, Kaveri, for example, this has its origin in pre-independent India.
Okay.
You had the states of Madras and Mysuru that had signed an agreement in 1898 and 1924.
1898
and 1924.
So means around
100 years.
100 years plus.
So this is a 100 years old dispute.
Okay.
Whereas when you compare, say, the northern disputes, if at all that we have, they are all post-independent. For example, the Satluj Yamuna link dispute came as a result of the Punjab Reorganization Act in 1960s. Right?
Correct.
Teesta yet to be signed. Farakka came in 1996. Indus Water 1960.
Okay.
So these are all post-independent. Now, when you have a long-standing problem, as it is in the peninsular India, obviously it's a complex problem. It has become a part of the people's psyche. There are folklores regarding it. There are songs regarding it. It's an area of, it becomes a part of your pride.
Right.
You don't want to let go of it so easily. But in the case of Himalayan river systems, that's not the case.
Okay.
These are relatively recent issues.
Okay.
So which is why you see that it's a lot more difficult, in fact, to comparatively analyze and understand and provide a solution to the peninsular river disputes.
So this will be all, sir. Thank you so much. And this brings us to the final question here, what we must have. Sir, so how is it, valid for me to state that water has become a weapon these days now? Means like, just for example, we have got the trade as a weapon, right? It's just not nuclear which is weapon, and it's now the trade as well the weapon. So we are going ahead with trade protectionism, etc. things. So can I state it? Is it logical for me to state that water has become a weapon for the political parties or the political personalities to use it to gain their political motives or the political benefits? Is it anywhere like having any existence in the real life?
So if you look at it from the realpolitik perspective,
Yeah.
see, water was considered as a resource.
Okay.
Now it is becoming a commodity.
Resource, and now it is a
Commodity.
like perfect crafting,
Okay.
sir.
And the value of that commodity is going to get higher and higher because we are facing a demon called as climate change. Now, unfortunately, in all of the topics that we discussed today, be it the Indus Water Treaty, Kaveri Water, Teesta, all of these were signed recently. Climate change as a concept evolved in the 1990s after the Rio Summit of 1992, which is why you find that none of these river water treaties have a single line about climate change or the impact of climate change or how it will drive river water variability in the lean season, the dry season. So because of that enforcement, you must expect as a logical person that more disputes will arise. So the concept of water wars has its origin in our past, which we can rectify. It's not that it is unrectifiable, but you will require a concerted effort. Merely just stating that, okay, this dispute is solved, hence so forth, the Supreme Court of India in all its might and judgment has given this judgment, is not the way forward. You will have to provide alternatives.
Okay.
Because river water is going to fluctuate given that climate change is now a reality. So how do you do that? You invest in rainwater harvesting. You invest in, say, command area development. You make sure that you have irrigation or canal facilities. Or say sustainable use of water. All of that will ensure that your reliance on the river as a primary source of water reduces.
Okay.
So just saying that, okay, I'm going to sign this or the Supreme Court of India has given this judgment, let's follow it. It's a half step. It's a half measure.
Okay.
Unless you solve the real problems of the people on the ground, these disputes are going to be like a cancerous tumor in our body.
So basically, sir, can I say that we do not have as of now made a long-term solution to any disputes, or we are not able to make some such type of a long-term solution, or we are not ready to make such type of a long-term solution? Which will be the better statement?
Praveen, I always say this to my friends, that we often say that, oh, Google is such an efficient organization. But I often tell them that the most efficient organization, if it wants, is the government.
Okay.
For example, the government shows a lot of efficiency when it comes to putting an unauthorized parked scooter in its van and carrying it away to the local police station. All of it happens in 30 seconds.
Okay.
So now what this requires is an efficient process, a bit of political will. For example, the same India was happy to play dossier with Pakistan in the 26/11 attacks. Now it has completely gone a 180-degree reversal. Now we are seeking accountability by hitting them hard in their hearts. So the same thing has to be applied. We need first political will.
Okay.
Our politicians must show a little bit of maturity. A word that I often use, they must become statesman-like. Not everything can become a source of votes for you, because eventually this is the country you're talking about, the people of the country you're talking about, the future of the country that you're talking about. What message you want to leave is for them to decide. But obviously I should inform my audience, it is not an unsolvable problem at all.
Okay.
All it requires is the political will and the people's participation.
So ultimately, we haven't come for the solution or a long-term solution just because of the lack of the will, not because of the lack of the resources.
Of course.
Okay. So really, thank you so much, sir. You have answered all of my questions, and not just me, we all have now got the clearance with regard to the water disputes, river water disputes, and including the one which is trending since last 65 years plus, that is Indus Water Treaty. So I believe after watching the whole session, there would be existing no such technical or any other related logical doubt in your mind that water sharing, water dispute, what it is, Do we have infrastructure? Do we have will? Do we have resources? All of the questions, they have been answered in as much as simplest and in as much as validated format by the geography expert with us, that is Bhuvan sir. Really, thank you so much, sir. It was really an honor, a privilege, and a fun as well to share the couch with you. And I'm looking forward for another episode with you as well, sir.
Thank you, Praveen, for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, guys. Good day. And please stay tuned with the channel. And yes, please remember, guys, every problem comes with a very specific solution. It's just you have to keep your senses wide and open and just look for the right time, hit the target at the right time, and you are there. Good day. See you soon.